Hi, this is John Paulus, and I just drew a card from the Life's Potluck Buffet card deck, and that's card number 12. Know when you're really acting like yourself. I really love this card because it challenges us to think about moments when we go against what our cherished tendencies in our own, the tendencies we cherish and that we love to say about ourselves, when we go against those. Because those are moments when you're doing something that you're really compelled to do. And as some of the other cards talk about, those are the moments to really look for when we're looking for when you're really flourishing. Because it's that need to do something, that irresistible need to do something, that is what moves us forward in ways that are uniquely important to us. So let me give you an example. Say you say, "Oh well, John, I'm really not outgoing. I'm really introverted, and I don't like talking to groups of people, and I don't ever need to do that." Then say you find yourself one day, and maybe you've found yourself one day in front of a large group of people and loving it because you were talking about something that was so near and dear to you, or someone or some group of people that were so near and dear to you that you couldn't help but give a speech. Say it was that fundraising event that you didn't think twice about. You didn't think twice about asking people for money because even though that's not your way, the group that you were raising the money for was so important to you that your introversion didn't matter anymore. And that's really what I'm talking about when I talk about knowing when you're really acting like yourself. Because when people do something contrary to what they see as being their nature, and they're choosing to do that, obviously it needs to be your decision. It's not being forced to act by anybody else in a certain way. When you revel in that, and you realize, like, wow, what a thrill that was. And I can't believe, who was that, right? It's those moments when you ask, was that me doing that? It's almost an out-of-body experience. It's almost like you're on autopilot. You can't help but do it. And this relates a lot to what I was talking about in card 37, when I was talking about how athletes, when they're in the zone, as it's called sometimes, they're just doing. They're doing what their body knows how to do. And they're trusting in their body to do what it knows how to do. It tells us a lot about that connection, that connection between mind and body that we think about so often. Because there's a deep connection that we're not consciously aware of. And when we're in situations of flourishing, that connection that we're not consciously aware of is often firing on all cylinders. And so knowing when you go against your deepest held ideas about who you are, how you act, what you do, when you find yourself choosing willingly to go against those, it's nearly a moment of heroism. It's the same, at least it seems to me, to be the same thing that produces heroic action, because you don't think twice before leaping into action. And imagine that you can do that about things on a daily basis. There doesn't need to be an emergency situation for you to leap into action. And in fact, every day we do this, but we often let it go by. So it's often helpful to hear other people's voices when they've said, "Wow, that was a great speech you gave. I didn't know you were such a great public speaker." And you might say, "Well, I guess I didn't know I was. But what I was doing was, I thought was so important that I needed to give that speech. So listen for cues where people notice you flourishing when you don't realize that you're flourishing, because our minds aren't connecting the dots when we do this. We're doing our thing. It's that athlete thing, right? We're just doing our thing. We know we care about this thing that we're talking about so much, and we need to talk about it. And we need to get others on board. And so we go into a zone. And that is where we know we're flourishing. Because even the way that you normally feel and act and understand yourself is no longer important. It goes by the wayside. And that is when you're really acting like yourself. Yeah, often it's helpful to get cues from others, or I guess kind of read the room, not while you're doing the action, right? Say you're giving this speech. Say you're raising money for a beloved group of people. And notice I'm saying people here instead of a beloved cause. And the reason I say that is because it's always about the people. We often get too confused about what we're doing things for. Are we doing it for living things, or are we doing it for an idea? And when we're doing it for an idea, the power is not there. But when we're doing it for living things, whether those are people, animals, plants, that's where the power is. Well, it helps to take cues from others after the event has happened. Because when you're in the zone, you can't be taking cues from others, because that's too distracting. And if you were in the zone and you were doing your thing, you probably weren't taking cues from others consciously. And that's when we reflect on things, that's what we need to do, is take the cues consciously and interpret them. It's reading the room after you've left the room, so to speak. And when someone comes up to you after that big speech you gave and says, "Oh, wow, that was such an amazing speech. You were so inspiring." That's when you know you were in the zone. And what do you say when someone says that? You say, "Oh, well, I couldn't help myself. This is so important to me. These people are so important to me." And that's the key. You were doing something where, say, a group of people was too important to you to allow your own obstacles to get in the way. And that's what I mean when I say, know when you're really acting like yourself. I hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode. And if you did, and you'd like to get a pack of Life's Potluck Buffet cards, just go to lifespotluck.com. And have a great day, and we'll see you next time.